wouldn't be enough time for them to even build over there. Well, now I've created a weak point for the mercenaries to attack. So they do have the option of attacking the Chinese, and it would have been much smarter to go after the Chinese maybe while they're asleep, because you can see that the Chinese have built, while the area seems to be filled, there's so many gaps that you can quickly burn through to take this map while they're asleep. And generally you get about a 7 or 8 hour window to do that. Simply by waiting for the Chinese to go to sleep, we can't really get there, and we can't do anything to save their towers. This would have made the Chinese territory wise much weaker than us. Instead, because they saw us as a weaker opponent, they were more likely to push us. Now, you're going to notice as we look at this map that we might have built more towers than you're typically going to see people put at gates. We do this to make it impossible to beat us just from a time perspective. So each of these towers, most of these cannot be lit on fire at the same time. You have to burn down one to get to the next. Now, if you can get around the side of the tower line, then you could light multiple on fire, and they've been able to do that a few times, but it takes hours to do that. Now, towers burn at a rate generally of about 4 health a second. And a maxed tower is going to give you 6,200. So let me see if I have a calculator on here. Uh, where is my calculator? Do I have a calculator? Oh, there it is. All right. So I have 6,200 health, and I'm going to divide that by 4 because it takes 4 health every second when it's on fire on average. That's going to give me 1,550 seconds. I divide that by 60. That gives me 25.8 minutes. So on average, it takes about 25.8 minutes to burn one of our towers down. So we're going to go with 25.8. So that's how long it takes to burn one of our main towers down. The more of those towers I can stack up in sequence, so not all touching the same edge, but where you have to burn down one tower to get one tile up to go to the next, so on and so forth. I need to look at how many of these towers can I stack at a time. So in a general tower space, and we'll just use this as an example, it's generally a 10 by 10 tower. So if I put this tower here, I have 10 across and 10 the other way. That means I could stack these towers, um, one at a time, but, and I'll just show you real quick. I'm just going to place some. So apologize to my guys for wasting cash. If I place that tower there, and I purposely placed that tower on an edge so you could see, and then I come up behind it and I place the next tower. Now, the tower that's in the front here has to be burned down before the enemy can burn down the next tower. And as I stack those up more and more, so, and you'll see, oh, the enemy could get around that edge, but they can't touch the second tower. So I go up one, I'm going to come over a little bit, and I'm going to place my next tower. I have the ability to stack these every single tile. Each one of these is going to take 25.8 minutes to burn down without using burning boost. So let's go back and let's say 25.8. And maybe instead of just putting one tower down to take up a 10 by 10 square, what if I put 10 down? So I'm going to multiply that by 10. That's going to give me 258 minutes I'm going to divide that by 60 at 4.3 hours. So it's going to take 4.3 hours for the enemy without burning boosts, if they were to light each tower on fire in sequence, to burn through a 10 by 10 square if they can't get around the side of it. Does that make sense? Feel free to come off mute if you have any questions. I'll check there's also a chat you can type in. Um, but does what I said just make sense? That how to stack the towers and how that burn time works? Oh, I see. We have one of the mercenaries online in our bio. I do apologize um, for what you're having to deal with. So 4.3 hours, and we'll just call it 4 hours. So a 10 by 10, I got 4.3. So that's, we'll say 4 hours to burn through. How many towers can I stack between my first city, Grand Rapids, or any city, and the gate? So if I were to stack these up, and let's say I don't touch the gate, well, I've got one 10 by 10 there, and we'll come back and we'll place another, and then we'll come back and we'll place another. And we'll see that I still haven't reached the city quite yet. So I could basically, if I wanted to, I could place 32 towers. And I know that for every 10, it's going to take 4.3 hours. So I could be at over 12 hours of solid burn time if I had the towers to do this before the enemy would be able to even reach our city, the first city. At that point, power doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if all of those players are 500 million power. All that matters is how much time do they have to take over the map. Even if even if we couldn't fight them. Right now on this map, we have built 2,500 towers. Now, you don't have to build 2,500 towers. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, and you could see on the other map that we looked at, using what you have to make the best defense you can basically bottleneck the enemy and force them to spend a lot of time having to constantly burn these towers down. And the moment that they don't have the people online to continue that push, you just build it back. And they're right back to square one. Something else we did, knowing that the mercenaries were not going to be strong enough to fight the Chinese, we made sure that two gates that we were protecting the Chinese could also get to. They're on a different time zone than us, so when we go to sleep, they will be very active. I know the Mercs aren't going to push this gate because they'll have to fight the Chinese, so the Mercs are most likely to push us at this gate when we go to sleep. So before we go to bed every night, we take two towers. Oh, that's not it. I've got them over here. So I take two towers, and what I'm basically doing is I'm just tucking them in um, to their gate, and we garrison just those two towers with some of our strongest garrisons or stronger garrisons, and then we go to bed. Now, while we're asleep, the enemy could technically burn these down, but it's going to require them to have a strong enough rally or a strong enough hit to be able to take out that tower. That means they're having to wait on somebody, usually a rally lead, to be online. And if while we're asleep, that rally lead is not online, they're not breaking through those towers. So I can get my 8 hours sleep.
You got a question in the messages.
Ah, that's a good question. Okay, so somebody asked, well, can't they just build one tower and burn a lot of your towers simultaneously? Um, and let me kind of show you how that would work. For example, here you can see that, and we'll look at this as an example. So here I have active territory from one of our guilds, two guilds, and this active territory is touching different towers. But you'll see that the territory is actually backed up further from, so it's not really touching. So this is the only tower that is touching this pink line. We're going to ignore this tower for a moment because this tower is technically touching this tower as well. You can see it right here. So you would have to burn this tower down first. And once that tower is burned down, and we're also touching this tower, so we could burn this one down. But as soon as that's over with, I have to be touching the edge of this territory. Does that make sense? So I can see that the dotted line is not touching my active territory. That means I can't light it on fire. Now, if I go to the Chinese side here for 5030, you'll see that they have built towers. Is this the Mercs? Oh, okay. Here's the Mercs. So the Mercs have built a lot of towers, but the Chinese territory, not that one or that one of these, something in here is touching them. There we go. This tower is technically touching the territory of one, two, three towers. That means that the Chinese could light all three of those towers at one time because the territory is overlapping at the edge. So the way you have to actually stack the towers in such a way. So example here, the way that these have been stacked, you can see from this kind of zigzag line, is like corner, and then another corner and then another corner. And by doing that, we have made it where I have to burn through one full line before I can go to the next one. So even if you were to build territory that was overlapping a lot of this territory, because this territory was here first, you won't be able to line to attack. So here's a good example. So this tower, you'll see that the territory is overlapping all of these. So let me bomb them real quick. All right, so I'm bombing these towers. They're not protected, so they'll light on fire. Awesome. I've successfully lit two of these towers on fire, and I should be able to light more of them on fire. But you'll see that when I try to bomb, that even though my territory is showing that it could overlap, this territory was here first. So until I burn these first two towers down, I can't get to that third one. That's the idea behind it. This now forces the enemy to burn through tower after tower after tower that we don't even have to garrison because we have so many towers and there's so much burn time it would take to get through our territory. We only have to focus on attacking the one or two towers that they have built. Does that make sense? Now, this is overkill, right? I mean, you don't have to have this many towers to build a defense. One thing that we're using in our tower build is that we don't leave a lot of gaps. So most of the territory that can be filled, we like to go edge to edge. Um, a good example of that, and we'll just look at it right here. Instead of just trying to fill this territory, we fill it thick. And by thick, I mean each tower, there's no gaps in between most of this territory, or very little gaps. Because if the enemy was able to burn down a tower, I don't want them to be able to advance through the towers as quickly, building territory to light more and more on fire. I really want to hold them on that burn time. Um, Another thing you'll notice that's a little strange about our build is the path of the War Guild. So, War Guild is coming out of here, and we went to Grand Rapids. And from Grand Rapids, you'll actually see that we wrapped all the way around the outside of the map. By doing this, we're opening up the middle of the map for other guilds to be able to take a different gate so that they can build into the center of the map and fill that up for us. So we purposely did not make our connection between Detroit and Grand Rapids, and instead went all the way around this outside to make it easier to fill up the center of the map. This also means that if the enemy was to take Grand Rapids, you'll see we have another connection coming out of this gate, and it goes to Columbus. Then Columbus is connected to Detroit. So even if you were to take Grand Rapids, it's not going to cut our boosts to any city except Grand Rapids. We designed the same thing for Louisville. You'll see we kind of have like this little loop made that if you take Louisville, it does not take away our connection to any other city boost except Louisville. On this side of the map, even though that it seems that we have, and we did take away over a bit of the defense for the Chinese to help out. Um, if they take Rochester, that doesn't hurt our server at all on the boosts either. And if they take Rochester, it doesn't cut any other boost off to our allies except for Rochester. You would have to take Long Island to be able to cut our boosts. Speaking of taking a city, cities are going to open for 4 hours. And if they're taken within those four hours, the timer resets. Let's look at something sneaky we did. And you'll see that Rochester, the closest city, it opens in 1 day and 37 minutes. So normally all the cities on that side would open and close at the same time. We actually swapped the opening times so that when Rochester opens in 1 day, Albany will already be closed. Long Island will already, let's see, 20 hours. So Long Island will have already closed when Rochester opens in 24 hours. We did that on purpose so that even if the mercenaries were able to take the first city coming out of the gates, when it opens, if that's what they're gunning for, the rest of the cities on our map on that side are already closed and they cannot be taken until that timer comes around again. This is a huge advantage. Now, we don't actually need this advantage because of how many towers we've built in the territory, but for a map, we'll look at Biozone map Hawaii. For a map like this, where you have a lot more open ground, it's a great idea to swap those city opening times so that if they are gunning very hard for your first city and they do manage to take it, they can't really push any further. They can burn your territory down, but they can't own those cities. That means they have to build around the cities and try to build defenses and hold. But as soon as your guild retakes that city and touches it, you can quickly light their towers on fire and push through. So this is a very strategic thing that every server should be focused on, is swapping up by just changing guild ownership of cities to line it up so that it gives you a much better defensive position if the enemy is able to make a push and try to gain that first city or try to gain multiple cities. All right. Give me a second. I need to pull up another app so that I can draw for you. The question was, well, what about the initial strategy? Because I'm sure a lot of people could possibly have ended up having to go Merc, and they're looking for a way to improve their strategy from the very beginning. There we go. Yay. Okay. Now we have the ability to draw on the screen. And I'm going to zoom out of the map a bit, and we're going to change our view to the safe zone. There we go. All right, so we have a blank map to look at, and we're dropping into the bio. Your towers, where you're going to place those, everybody kind of guns for taking the most amount of territory to start with, and that is fundamentally wrong. The reason that is fundamentally wrong is because of this view here. Darker green areas are going to be higher level tile resource, and just tiles in general. Those will generate more biocache when towers are in them than when they're in the lighter colored territory. So if I zoom into the map, and we'll go to this tile, just any tile in here, and you'll see that they are level 7s. Not resource tiles, just the tiles on the map. So level 7. And as I get closer to the command center, oh, it just jumped to 9. So what is the significance of these level of tiles? Well, if I'm in guild and I go to territory, you're going to see an eye in the top right of the screen. That eye brings up territory, and it tells you what territory revenue you will get for what level of tile. Every tower you build that's a full tower that doesn't have any territory that can't be used is 100 tiles. All right. So if I'm level 7 tile territory and my territory revenue per tile is 10, then I would get 700 revenue points for each tower I place. When I'm looking at tax level, I can see what is the required territory revenue to increase my biocache amount. Well, if I'm looking at level 7 tiles mainly, and those level 7 tiles, each one is going to give me 700 per tower that I build in the safe zone. But we also saw those level 9s in there, and those level 9s give 25 territory revenue per tower built. And 25 is much more substantial. So instead of it being territory revenue, it wasn't 700. It's 10 times 100, so that'd be 1,000. So each tower I build is going to be 1,000 revenue. If I'm building a tower that's on all level 9 territory, that now jumps to 2,500 territory revenue. I need to bump that amount to get a higher required territory revenue so that I can increase the amount of biocache I'm generating an hour. Taking a city, such as the command center, gives you all of the extra territory in here. So now these are level 10 tiles. Level 10s, and we'll go back to the eye, give you 40 territory revenue per tile. So that's 4,000 for a 10 by 10 square. So if I'm trying to get the most biocash as possible, I need to increase the type of the level of tile that is in my territory. So what we like to do, because around the command center there is higher territory revenue, such as this is a level 10 tile, and as we go out, then we get to level 9s, and then finally it drops off at some point. So those are still 9s. Finally, it gets to level 7 out here. So whatever territory I'm building around that command center initially is going to greatly increase the amount of biocash I'm getting as soon as the bio starts. So if I'm dropping my fort halfway in between Philadelphia and the command center and then building out both ways, that is not optimal guild cash flow. I should be dropping at the command center and surrounding that command center with towers, which is going to give you a lot of extra cash starting out. That means also when I'm taking Philadelphia, I want to surround Philadelphia with towers because here I can see these are level 8s outside of Philadelphia. That's going to be a higher guild cash level per tower. So it's only a few rows, but it's surrounding the entire city. And it's going to be like that on Pittsburgh. It's going to be like that on Boston as well. Going to the gates, I don't really see that. It's still level 7s right here at the gate. But if I take the gate, that's just extra territory in here. It's not a lot, but it's a little bit extra and gives you a bump. So my main focus is how do I increase my cash level when I only have so many towers I can build in the very beginning? Does that make sense? All right, I think everybody understood that. Let's actually draw on the map a little bit and let's talk about my initial plan of building out. Now, I've only got 90 towers when those first gates open. So let me take those dots off. So this gate's going to open and this gate's going to open. And I'm going to have 90 towers with War Guild that I'm able to build out of both sides of the map. There's no weapon talk this week. This is on towers. And if I'm coming out of here and I've only got 90 towers, if I'm just trying to build War Guild out of both sides like this, you're not going to have enough towers to do that. 90 is not a lot of towers. So you need to adjust your build path. And so one thing we do is we only push out of one gate with our War Guild. And a lot of times you'll see servers build something like this with their War Guild. That lets them partially surround Detroit and be able to touch each city on that side. And they're doing that because they don't have a lot of towers and they want to increase that guild cash and get the rewards. They usually will then, oh, let me go to my colors and we'll choose another color. We'll choose green. Sure. They'll usually bring a supporting guild out and they'll usually fill in a whole bunch of territory and they'll surround a city like that. Sometimes you'll see them build and have like the war guild come around the other side of that city, and then they'll build kind of like a little bit of a wall um, to really surround the back cities, and they'll fill in usually a whole lot of territory on this side and in here. And this is, a good strategy for defense. It's not optimal. I will show you the optimal build, which I promised myself I wasn't going to do. But since you're all here, why not? Now, you're not going to agree with this build, and that's fine, because I don't care. This is your optimal build path with your war guild. That's it. That saves you the most amount of towers, and why that is helpful is when I'm bringing my support guild in now. Watch what my support guild can do. Now my war guild is now connected, able to touch each city, but I have been able to build a barrier around all of those cities on that side and lock the enemy into their safe zone gates. Once I get those extra towers, now I have the ability to fill this entire inside area using a support guild. Look at the defensive capabilities of this. And I know what you're saying. You're like, oh, but they could cut Toledo off at the gate. Well, sure. But I have freed up my war guild now to have so many extra towers to position at the gate. And if I can block the enemy into the gate, what have I done to their cash flow level for biocash? The longer I can hold them inside of their own gates, the lower their biocash level is going to be. They have to make a choice. Do they fill up their safe zone with War Guild towers to start increasing that biocash so that they can make an actual push later? Or do they try to push now and as with a lower biocash level, and if they can't make the push and hold the territory, they're going to lose all that biocash they could have saved and be right back to square one when we burn their towers down. It becomes an economical game. The power doesn't necessarily matter if they don't have the guild cash to build towers. Let's look at another thing that people make a mistake on. Let's draw a build for a war guild. All right, so I will surround my command center. I build out here. I surround Philadelphia, maybe, or don't. It doesn't matter. I take Philadelphia and I push over here to Pittsburgh. And let's say I build like this. How many towers do I have in that safe zone now from War Guild? So as I'm pushing territory on the outside of the map to take cities, well, look at all these wasted towers. Do I need to hold the command center for some reason? No, I don't need to hold the command center. I need to hold some gates. Well, but don't I need to hold Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and Boston? Why? So you can get 10% extra gathering speed? Are you a farmer or a warrior? I mean, buy the $5 try resource packs, get a couple of billion resources. I mean, it's worth it to offset the need for farming. I didn't come here to farm. What we do once we've pushed out and we've exhausted the limit of our towers is we delete everything, we drop our fort here, and we just make a connection there. Done. It's what, 5 towers? I think it's 5 towers, 4 towers, and a fort. That saves me like 20, 25 towers I can push out towards the enemy to block them in their gates and cut their cash flow. I heard a duck. So this is something that you'll see even. Let me go over here. Make sure we're in our home map. War Guild right here is GOW with this little squiggly mark. We've got a fort. 1, 2 towers to this side because we're the hourglass, right? One. What is this? Do we need that? Well, it's there anyways. 1, 2, 3. I think you can actually make the connection with 2. So 2 towers on each side. I've got access to both sides of the map, and I've just saved myself a whole bunch of towers. You'll see that the GOW with the squiggly mark, we still own Philadelphia and Boston. And but this is not active territory. I've given this up. So I can't use the electromagnetic blockade skill, right? Wrong. Look, I'm the governor. I can use the skilled. Choose a tile outside the base to use the electromagnetic blockade city skill. So we'll just choose, I don't know, this point right here. And look, electromagnetic blockade for city. If I click on that, it will in fact let me use. I know it doesn't have a green. You have to have a base. I can't lock my own. Mm, let's see if it'll let me do it here. There we go. It can be used. I'm not going to waste the gold, but um, you don't have to have it as active territory if you own the city to be able to use the skill. I think I dropped. Why did I drop that tower there? We had a connection. Let's see. Sorry, I'm. You might have noticed I'm a little bit anal about stuff. All right. So there's a 1 tile gap. Should there be a 1 tile gap? Oh, if I had moved this further down, it would have actually brought it over further. So, yeah, you can make it with 4 and a fort. I just didn't do it. All right, so we looked at beginning build of how am I going to get the most bang for my buck. You'll even see that the Chinese moved their fort further up and made their connection right here. So they did that to save some towers, which took a lot of convincing. And then once they got their towers back, they built back to the command center, which holding that does nothing for you. As long as the enemy doesn't get it, and as long as you own it when the rewards come, that's all that matters. Speaking of building out, can you take both sides of the map and completely um, encase all cities before the next towers drop when you have the initial 90? So that is in counterattack progress, and we'll have to back up a bit. And we'll see when we first get in, we get an increase. We usually have 40 to start with. We get our first increase at 50 extra when the level 1 checkpoint opens in one direction from the safe zone. That's going to put you at 90 towers. So at 90 towers, do I have enough? I don't get more towers until after we have done level number 5, which is your guild occupies one level 6 city, then you'll get an extra 60 towers. So can you do it? Yes. But you're going to need to use supporting guilds to do it. I'll go ahead and show you your optimal build path. All right. Ideally, you're going to build like this to start with. And then you're going to remove this because that is a gathering speed. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. This way. Pittsburgh or one of your cities is going to be a gathering speed boost skill city, which nobody cares about. And then what about this other gate? Well, I don't really care about that other gate. I'm going to fort drop it. Whatever side I'm going to bust out of initially, I'm going to use a fort drop. You'd have enough towers. You could actually build like that if you wanted to take that gate and get the initial reward. And I might do that just to free it up. And then I might build like that to that gate. But I really want to delete the towers going to it. What I want, ideally, is to surround Pittsburgh and build a supporting guild up like that. For Boston, ideally, I want to build up with another supporting guild and take that gate. Those supporting guilds, I want them to hold those gates for the rest of the bio. My war guild doesn't need them. Once I have done that, and I'm pushing out of this side, I will have enough towers with my war guild, so we're going to use blue for war. Let's clear that. All right. You have enough towers that if you wanted to, you come around this side, that you can build that with your war guild. And you technically have enough towers that you can surround Toledo and Cleveland. But to do that, you need to delete all the towers you built back in your safe zone and build across like that with your little fort here and save all those extra towers. So I would have the ability to build my war guild to surround Toledo and Cleveland or whatever those cities are for you. I'm going to bring my supporting guild out of this gate. I'm going to bring my support guild out. I'm going to build my barrier like this. When I get to this city, I'll just delete a tower from the war guild and build a barrier around Grand Rapids. Super easy. I've now locked this side down completely. If you lock this side down in this way, I'm going to show you what you can do on this side. Now, I don't have a way to place the actual towers at this point to show you, but I am going to show you what is technically possible. And you came out of this one gate with your war guild. You will have enough towers to do that with your war guild. This is at 90 towers. You can then fort drop, we'll say Syracuse in this situation. I could fort drop that city to fight for it when it first opens. I could bring my supporting guild that's on this side of the map. Let's use a different color. We'll use red. My supporting guild, I can bring it out and do the exact same thing that I did last time on the other side of the map. Now, I may not be able to hold Syracuse or Rochester, but I could actually build my initial defense for Albany and Long Island, my back cities. I could build that initial defense very quickly, build up to Rochester right before it opens, and then go to Syracuse. One thing that I like to do if I have an enemy on this side is when those gates open, I will take that gate and build nothing. I don't build anything on that side of the map at all. If I don't have an ally on one side of me, I'm only going to push one side of the map. I'm going to lock that entire side down and leave this side completely open. Because if the enemy sees that side's open and we're not pushing it, a lot of times they won't either. And then when it gets close to time, I'm going to build this as fast as I can. And at the same time, I will push that as fast as I can to lock those back two cities down. Now, if I've already locked down my other side, when those first level 5 cities are opening, I'm going to have one side of the map completely surrounded, the city surrounded and locked down. On this side of the map, I'll have the back two, and that's going to put me at 6 cities that I'm confident I'm going to get the rewards for. I'm only really fighting for Rochester and Syracuse, and if they, that morning that they're opening, because usually it's sometime in the morning, like late morning that it's opening, those cities are, if they haven't started building that side, most people are not really doing anything. I think those open on a Saturday too, most of the time, and people aren't as active at that time. So I have the ability to get my server moving very quickly and possibly take the rewards for each of the level 5 cities on 2 sides, even having um, enemy servers on both sides. Any questions about that? Or any questions about tower building at all? Don't be shy. Come off mute or type it in the chat.
No question.
One thing that y'all are going to have to uh, realize if you're going to make your builds better for the bio. Hold on. How do I turn that off? There we go. All right. If the enemy, and let me go to a bio map where we can see this in action. This will work. So even though the mercenaries are boxed in here, if they are attacking and I'm bringing up my United 356 players and I'm in this area, this whole area here, the enemy can teleport into behind our line and 0 bases and then leave. And if they're a really strong player and we don't have the power to take them out one on one, they can just sit there the whole time and wreck our guys. By filling up that territory, and we'll just say the more territory that I can fill up around my gate, the harder it's going to be to get behind our line to be able to deal damage to our fillers for rallies or garrisons. It's going to be harder to zero bases. This is going to be very important for maintaining the strength of your rallies and garrisons throughout the war. Controlling that territory, if I control all of the map and the enemy cannot teleport into any of this area, then they only have one area that they can focus on. This particular point in the map. That gate. That gate is a building and can only hold a certain amount of troops in it, so they can't fit everybody in that gate. They have to march through it. They can't just jump in and jump out. They can't hide millions and millions of troops in there. I mean, 2-3 million is about where they're going to be max, maybe almost 4. That's not a lot. That's like 10 marches that can jump in there. And one of them is going to be a garrison march to increase capacity. So I can put 9 marches max in there, and that's the focal point that I fight out of. Well, that's not great. That's Sparta all over. That's just little narrow gap, and no matter how strong the mercenaries are, their numbers aren't going to matter if you funnel them into a very small spot. Now, they'll make very good progress. A strong enemy, I'll show you. This initial spot, because they are fighting out of this gate. So this initial space, they're going to be able to make a very strong push because they can quickly jump in and jump out of that gate for attacks. They can easily refill their rallies and their garrisons from here. The further they get from this gate as they're burning territory, they're limited to teleport in on the territory that they control. So all that pink area, they still can't get onto. They can only get into that red area. This means that you can completely surround them at any point and tear them apart. The only effective way that they're going to be able to really push out of this territory is if they have the ability to constantly push like this. That's going to be very difficult to do for anybody. Now, what they could do, and this is how most mercenaries win, is they either have to break through your line to be able to make a very good run while y'all are offline, or they have to attack multiple points at one time, and have enough people online doing that your defenses crumble. So you really need to think about that when you're designing your defenses for the mercs, or if you're a mercenary attacking. How can I chop them up? How can I eliminate their concentration of force and spread them out in a way to divide them and conquer them? So as you're looking at what gates you can push out, where can you I can space them in 4 different gates. Is that going to be effective? If it's 2 servers at each gate that are protecting it, is it effective to push 4 gates at the same time? Can we do it? Can I at least try to divide up their forces? And while I'm doing that, can I concentrate our force where they're the weakest? While I can't show the builds in 8-way bio, give me just a second and I'll get y'all something that you might find useful. So I just dropped in the chat uh, two media files. One is just a blank map of a 4-zone bio. The other is a blank map of the 8-zone bio. Um, so that that may be something that would be useful for planning. I don't know that that map is going to be the same as the new 8-zone format for the way that it's for the way the map has progressed. I don't remember, but that's the best I can do to help you prepare for drawing how you're going to make your defenses. I highly encourage if you don't have anybody who's really good at towers on your server, you need to get one, and the best way to get that is homegrown. Practice yourself. Something we do ourselves, and let me go to our home server. Um, we definitely practice tower building even on the Europe map. So we've got a project started. You'll see that we have quite a few guilds that are started here at the government, and we have there's quite a few people who have placed the towers for these. But we have some people that are pretty dedicated at putting the towers, or people who can put towers a certain way, and they have had a lot of practice doing that around our government area. Um, so you could definitely take time outside of bio to try practice stacking towers. Maybe practice how you're going to build your defense. It doesn't cost you anything. You can just tear them down. You can use free guilds for it. I think a lot of the ones that we have are guilds that were dead on our server that were stacked full of exploits in biocache. We just threw a farm in there and left it in for a week active, and were able to take over a lot of those useless guilds and make a good use out of them for free. If you don't quite understand the stacking tower, if you're a little bit iffy on it, a good way that you could practice that is by using two random guilds outside of bio on the Europe map. Pick a spot where you don't have anything going on, drop some forts, try stacking some towers and seeing if you can get that down, because that's going to be very important. I know that um, the server that was over here that we fought, at one of the gates, they did a beautiful job stacking the towers correctly. It took us a while to burn through them. At the other gate, they stacked them completely wrong, all touching the gate at the same time. And as soon as we took that gate, we were able to light, I think it was like 20 towers on fire at the same time, and easily and quickly enter their safe zone. So it is very important to understand that, because if one person makes the mistake of stacking them wrong, it can be a very costly thing to happen to you. Yes, marches can pass through these walls of towers. So, like this wall, a march can pass through here like there's nothing there. It's no issue. It's the same as when you stack bases very close together, that marches can pass through those, no problem. No matter how tightly you stack towers. So you can see we have quite a cluster here. Um, a march can actually pass through these towers without any kind of issue. But it can be a great strategy stacking towers this way is, which one do you light on fire? Um, so let's say the enemy builds a tower here. Which one is this green edge at the bottom? There, I found it. And if that one gets lit on fire, how easy is it to see if that fire is still going in that mass of towers? So there's some strategies, different strategies we've used around with our tower build. That was one I wanted to be able to show you, is by definitely stacking them correctly throughout the territory, but also, well, I'm not clicking on the right thing, but also strategically placing them so that the one they need to light on fire is somewhere in the middle of that mass. It's going to make it harder to actually see if the tower is on fire or not when they light it. Question was about the expedition towers on our home server. So I'll show it to you. Um, I can't really speak to the effectiveness of it because it's going to depend on your server's build and your strategy. The reason that we stacked these is as an expedition defense system. So, yes, the towers are spaced apart. Enemies can teleport an expedition onto your territory. They must have a 3x3 clear space to do that. So, we have built all of our towers only 2 spaces by 2 spaces. So, one, two, and then it touches the tower. So, no base, not ours or any enemies, can teleport in between those towers. And we did that on a large scale. It didn't start out large. We had to build out our area for that. And that gives us the ability to put bases in an area near the government. And if we fill all of that area and leave no gaps, then it is a very long march for the enemy to be able to walk in to get to our bases. But everybody has to do it together. If anybody leaves a gap, one person can teleport in and wreck a whole bunch of accounts. So it is definitely a team exercise. Obviously, there's ways around those issues that I'm sure you could think of yourself. But any other questions before I let y'all go today? We're a little bit over on time. Guys, I know this might have been a very boring class for you today because we're just talking about uh, tower placement, and I know that that can be a very boring subject. A lot of people don't like to do towers. Um, they don't even like to build them. Obviously, I'm sure you have all run into that issue. If you found value in today's call, I know there's quite a few people on the call right now. It greatly helps me if you message um, Julian, the person who put out the invites for this. If you'd message them either in the KOW official Discord, tag them, or if you send them just a direct message and say that you found value or that you liked me doing this, it helps. And this hopefully could grow into something even better and better. Maybe eventually they'll record these for everybody and people can use them. They do give me a small amount of compensation, but it's nothing like what you guys think. So I appreciate everybody joining the call on a Saturday. Next week, we could probably go over the new weapons. So I think I'm going to put out a thing for that. I know people have definitely some mixed feelings about these. They're wondering if these new carbines are going to be the same as the labels, and we can get into those differences between weapons on the call next week. Thanks for joining, guys. So the question I had one in the chat: is there a way to get help for classes I've missed? You snooze, you lose, bud. I'm just kidding. Just join back to a lot of times I will regurgitate information. You're always welcome to ask questions about something that's topic specific, but once a month, We will just have a general Q&A class where there won't be necessarily a subject except for Kiss of War. And you can ask or bring anything you have questions about to that class because it won't be geared towards any specific topic. So be looking out for those general classes once a month.